Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about who owns Gary Gygax today. What? Scott, nobody owns Gary Gygax today. He's like a person. You can't own a person. You might have been wrong yesterday. You might have been right yesterday, but you wrong today. Okay? Marvel Studio just bought Stan Lee, right? They bought him for 20 years. You're like, wait a second, Scott, Stan Lee is dead. Yes, he is. So is Gary Gygax. He's dead, right? These are two ghosts, right? We talking about ghosts, right? So how on earth so Marvel Studios, owned by Disney. So I'm gonna cut to the chase, right? Disney owned Stan Lee. Now, how long do they own him for? They bought him for 20 years, right? So, like, you're like, wait, what? They only bought, like, they're like, we want Stan Lee, but only for 20 years? Yes. You can't make this stuff up. We live in such an upside down world. All right, so why did Marvel Studios buy Stan Lee? Well, MAP, that's my own acronym. Merchandise, appearances, parks. All right, so they used a whole bunch of words to talk about this on the story. By the way, Grace Randolph covered this spectacularly. Head on over to Grace Randolph's channel. She is the best movie reviewer in the world. She understands movies. She understands the math behind them. She is spectacular. If you're not a fan, get on it, 'cause she's really amazing. All right, so she did a great story and explained how Marvel Studio bought Stan Lee for 20 years. They bought the merchandise. They can put Stan Lee's face on a towel, right? They bought appearances. They can put him in movies and television. I don't think they bought video game rights. They can't put Stan Lee in a video game, right? But they paid to put him into movies and television shows, right? By the way, Grace said television shows. I think the word television is stupid and antiquated and doesn't make any sense anymore. But she used the terms, and you guys generally know what I mean. I think we really need to retire that word. Television is ridiculous. I like saying big screen and small screen. So I think in my humble opinion, they bought them on the big screen. They bought them on the small screen, right? And then last, parks. Parks, what? Yeah, 3 theme parks, right? So what can you do with somebody's soul in a theme park? Well, you can make a statue of them, right? You can make 100 statues of them, and that's no small thing, right? Like Disney is like, we got literally dozens of theme parks. We could put 6 different statues of him. Now you need 100, 200 statues, right? You can give those jobs that are like $500,000 a piece to marginalized artists. That helps many communities. It's a big deal. Statues are a big freaking deal. And then millions of selfies are going to be taken around them, right? Statues are a thing, right? And then experiences. Experiences? What the heck is an experience, Scott? Let's talk about experiences, because that's where it gets interesting, right? You can go to Disney World down in Florida, and you can have an experience with Captain America. You can talk with Captain America. You can ask Captain America questions, right? You can maybe mix it up and spar a little bit with Captain America. And these experiences only get better and better and better. And by the way, I've read about them. I think I've seen a little bit of footage from them, right? And actually, they're pretty private, right? Like, but these experiences are really pretty incredible, right? Like, so you are interacting with someone who is embodying the role of Captain America. But if if Captain America's like your main jam, that could be a big deal, right? And I'll tell you right now, actually, it's one of the greatest shames of Scott Garibay. I'm too poor to bring my family to Disney World. Every time we talk about it, I'm like, do I take the family to Disney World or do we buy a car? And we always buy a car because we always need a car, right? So we have never been to Disney World, and I've never my father took me, but there weren't no experiences then. It was just rides and having fun, and maybe you saw Mickey in a parade or something. But these experiences are really incredible. They use technology, they use people, processes, and tools to really kind of blend reality and fantasy, right? Like, what do you think we're doing with Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, we create experiences, right? But in these new theme parks, these experiences can be really big deal. So you could have a situation where you're talking and walking and chopping it up with Stan Lee, right? And you're like, well, can you? Yeah, like, this is a thing. Like, it's emerging in our world, and it's a big deal. All right, now we talked about Stan Lee. Stan Lee scribbled a few things, drew a few things. Everything that every type of glory that should rest on the head of Stan Lee, you can bet should rest on the head of Gary Gygax, right? He should have merchandise, right? He should be appearing in movies and television, and he should have experiences and statues in parks that are dedicated to him, right? And or statues should be put into other parks that already exist, right? So the reality is somebody should own Gary Gygax and start selling these rights right now, okay? So this is no longer a should. This is already happening, right? Like the people are like, that shouldn't happen. Like, come on, can you join us in 2022 rather than 1922, right? So the whole should thing, that conversation's finished, right? The question is, who owns Gary Gygax? Well, here's the answer, all right, to best of my knowledge, right? In my humble opinion, with the data I've collected, I think his wife, who is still alive, right, his second wife, not his real wife from his first marriage, but like his divorced wife, the wife he got after he divorced his first wife and then got another wife, she owns his image, to my knowledge, right? I think that's the situation. Not positive, right? But I think she has the ability to sell his rights, right? And if she did that, then we could start to move forward with these other things. Almost a certainty, nothing's going to happen, and she's not going to take any action. She already hasn't taken any action. We haven't really seen Gary. We haven't seen his images used since he passed, right? We should be seeing it. We should, right? And we will. There'll be an event that will happen that will unlock this. It's already happened on Archie, right? The guy who owned Archie, he's like, I'm not, making Archie a Riverdale television show and a bunch of comics with, we're not putting Archie in a comic with Predator and Alien, right? He passed. His son was like, here you go, let's do it, right? So as soon as these rights reach a person who understands modern life, we're going to get all this, I think. We're going to get Gary Gygax merchandise. We're going to get Gary Gygax appearances in movies and on the big screen and on the small screen, and we're going to get statues and we're going to get experiences, right? And I'm all for all of it. Sign me up. I want the towel. I want to see the movie. I want to see the television show. I want to take a selfie with the statue, and I want the experience, right? Like, I'm up for all of it, right? And I really think, and so the reality is right now, I think, this is what I think, please correct me in the comments if you know better, that all this is under lock and key by his divorced wife. He ain't doing nothing with it, all right? As soon as, Lord willing, she is with us until the Bible says you don't live past the 125. So, she lives till 125, passes of old age, because I think we just had the longest person in the world passed at 121. So I wish her good health till 125, but the Bible says we don't really live past that now. So then it would just, it's going to go over. When that event happens, it's going to go over to one of the children, right? And they're going to be like, oh, I know what the modern world is. Let's get this done, right? And that's when it's going to start chugging, right? And I'm all here for it. I cannot wait, right? So my answer is, I'm pretty sure Gary Gygax's wife, divorced wife, owns all this. She ain't going to do nothing with it. People have been begging her to make a statue for decades, and we ain't seen a statue, to my knowledge. And then when this is really going to move, when we're going to get our Archie comics with Predator and Alien, when we're going to get our Riverdale, that's going to happen when this goes down to one of the kids. That's my opinion. What do you think is going to happen? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Who do you think owns Gary Gygax now? What do you think they should do with Gary Gygax's soul? Like, should it be put on a towel? Should we what should we do with his essence, with his person, with his, the same thing they're doing with Stan Lee? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.